Welcome back to the Bonafide Truth. As I've told you all before, Yahweh isn't a monotheistic God. Yahweh doesn't exist in a vacuum. Yahweh had a family. Yahweh was a part of a pantheon. Yahweh had a consort and all the whole 9 yards. But with that being said, let me also say this. God and no God ever has been evil nor good. There's no evil or good God. And if you were being honest, and if the cognitive dissonance would disappear for a minute, that makes the most sense. If the beings that we are talking about, if the divinity that we are talking about can truly be defined as a God, if these beings are God, whether it's Yahweh, El Elyon, Asherah, Baal, Hadad, Astarte, any of them, even if we're talking about the Orisha, the Neteru, even any of our African counterparts, right? From Obatala to Yamea to Oshun, these beings are not evil, nor are they necessarily good. The evilness that is supposed to be coming from them is projection. The goodness that's supposed to be coming from them is projection too. What these gods are supposed to be actually doing is instantiating processes. They're supposed to be maintaining the reality around you, the infrastructure around you. They are foundational. They are fundamental. They are functional. You know what's dysfunctional? Having some type of moral qualms with humanity. You know what's dysfunctional? Causing and allowing suffering if you are supposedly good. What's dysfunctional is being inconsistent. What's unfoundational is something that has to stop holding up the foundations of earth to get into petty squabbles with humanity and animals and to ask for sacrifices and gold, you know? So maybe that's saying that some of the gods that we talked about were just people. Maybe they were aliens, a higher being, you know, the whole conspiracy. But if they are gods, they can neither be good nor evil. They are beyond morality. Morality is a subjective experience. You can experience suffering because you live in a particular point in time, in space, and you don't know how long you have. You don't know how inevitable death is or how inevitable eternity is. You don't know if you have forever. You don't know if you have a finite amount of time. So infinity to finite, forever to temporary, you don't know. And until you do know, well, you have morality, you have ethics, you have all these different things that guide you and position you. But these things would collapse if you were a god yourself. Why? Because you have to dictate storms, for example. Baal Hadad had to dictate storms. Every storm is not going to be 100% beneficial to everybody in its way. Every flood is not going to be, it's not going to be a benefit as soon as the flood happens. When the Japanese were hit with the tsunami, they didn't initially see the benefits, but they saw the terror, they saw the horror. That may have looked like a punishment from Yam. That may have looked like a punishment from a god. But instead, it is nature working the way that it has always worked, the way that it needs to work, in a way that is required for us to have our reality. So if people want to live practically, if people want to live in reality and they want to believe in gods or a god, they have to remove agency from this God in their subjective lives. When you make a choice, that's not God coming down here to tell you, hey, you made that choice. Now here's what I'm going to do about it. You've never had that happen. If God is talking to you, God will either come down here, a God will either come down here and appear before you. This is what the ancients believed. Or will use another person or entity or being to talk to you. And they will say things profound and that you have never heard before and that are inevitably true and distinguishably true. They are definitively true. People lie all the time. but a God has no reason to lie. So if you're looking for certain things such as principles, gods will have principles, but they will not have morals. Why would they have a sense of morality? What, because they created things? We create things and we destroy things. And we are made in the image of them. So if we are made in the image of the Elohim, the Anunnaki, the Orisha, the Neteru, all of these gods, if we're made in the image of these gods, and we are the way we are, we don't care about suffering sometimes. I've seen a lot of people let things suffer. Like, just stop being a hypocrite about it, really. Like, if you really care so much about the morality of God, then you will show off the morality of God, so that way you can prove that that morality has been passed down. Killing animals, for example, would be a no-no for you, because why would God want to make something suffer or destroy something that God created? Because it's food? Why make it food? Oh, because we need to eat? Well, why do we need to eat that? Because, well, we have a choice. Well, why are we choosing? Why tell us that we have the choice to choose meat? But then again, your biblical text, or a lot of religious texts, actually promotes eating either a more balanced meal or being vegetarian, but people don't like that, so they ignore these parts of their text. They ignore reality. You ignore your God when it's convenient, but then when it affects you personally, all of a sudden it's God's fault. When it affects you negatively, positively, it's God's fault. You win the lottery, it's God's fault. You lose your house, it's God's fault, right? Or maybe it's the devil's fault, but even then the devil is just another God. No accountability, no responsibility. Just finger pointing up, forward, and down, but never back. So I say, stop pointing the finger at God. Stop saying, oh, well, this happened. Why did it happen? Why does God allow suffering? Even atheists try that. Why do gods allow suffering? Gods didn't create suffering. Suffering is being habitated. It is being incubated. It is being gestated by the gullibility, by the folly of humanity. Humanity is a selfish entity. As a collective, we are selfish. I'm not that selfish. I've met people that aren't that selfish, but as a collective entity, we are. We hoard things. We harbor hatred. We hide history. We love to make ourselves look good and make everything else look bad. Oh, why do we let animals suffer? Because they don't know any better. So that's reasonable enough to make something suffer, right? Why do you need to kill, steal, and destroy? Well, because I've been wrong in life. I've been wronged. I've been slighted. Something bad has happened to me, so something bad has to happen to someone else. An eye for an eye makes the world blind, right? But then, of course, some people do need to learn a lesson. Some people do need to be taught a lesson, whether physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever. But at the same time, you got to stop blaming external things for something you have internally released. You released this type of energy. You have done these things to yourself and to others. It's not God's fault. There is no devil. There is no hell. So stop fearing that. There is only you and me and the rest of us. There is only the truth. If there are gods, they didn't do this to you. If there is a devil, he didn't do this to you. The only thing that has done this to us is ourselves.